Let's come out of Jolie Pearl tonight.
I sent a text to Panamsky yesterday talking about the lack of offensive linemen in the class that got to him because he has not responded to the text, and he was laying out how good the class is.
Yeah,
and it really is. And I'd like to apologize to Derek publicly on the air for the text that I sent him about the lack of offensive linemen because after hearing Orgeron last night on the O Show, it sounds like they've got a really nice plan put together for what the offensive line is going to look like and how they close this class on this 2021 group. And if T-Bob, that's the fact. When you got 5 more spots available here and you look at what they've done with the first 19, and they've cleaned up, right?
I mean everywhere. It's all over the field. Just look. Okay, so there's so many different places we could start. How about starting right here?
Well, I just want to continue the thought in the sense of that they take care of all the areas of concern in the first 19 that they bring in, whether it's getting wide receiver. Chris Hilton, I thought, was a huge win yesterday.
Yep, getting him early instead of waiting.
Where he was earlier this week. To have Hilton floating out there, I think the JoJo Earl situation showed you what that could turn into. You know, Rajon Davis out in California told LSU earlier this week, you know what, hold up. I told you I was going to sign, but I'm not going to sign. That puts that thing now floating out there. Yep. USC becomes a player. More people now. Arizona State is now hovering around on that recruitment. To get Chris Hilton into the boat yesterday, I thought was an enormous win for LSU. And the wide receiver group now is back, right, for what you did yesterday. Malik Neighbors is a player. Malik Neighbors was screwed by one of these LHSAA rules, these transfer rules. He didn't play in his senior season.
Okay.
You didn't see him this year, but he was a Mississippi State commit. That cat can go.
I like
so to get him, and you know what? He's an in-state guy. If you're going to get Malik Neighbors and you lose JoJo Earl, but you get Chris Hilton, and you know what? Now Brian Thomas becomes a guy that
he's on top of the O-lineman. Brian Thomas is like Tristan Lee, Brian Thomas are definitely maybe the 2 biggest targets left.
If you get Brian Thomas in February and you've bagged Malik Neighbors and you got Chris Hilton already in the boat, and Deion Jones is the number 1 player in Mississippi. A lot of people believe that Mary Flipmas shirt that Lane's been wearing all week was directed at Deion Jones. So to get him yesterday, the number 1 player in Mississippi, go get the number 1 linebacker at junior college out of Mississippi. The strong kid, who you love his name?
Navontek. Well, I really like the strong part.
The strong part. That's what
that's just going to look so sick. I mean, Navontek's interesting in its
own right. It's got to
be
Navon, right? I mean, you got to just. I mean, you got to call him. I mean, it's Navon Tech.
I would just call him Tech.
Tech.
I mean,
Tech Strong.
On, dude. Tech Strong's the coolest name.
What a linebacker name is Bug. Bug.
Sure, I'll call him Bug. Hell yeah, dude.
Said on the radio show last night. Bug.
Old Bug Strong.
Bug Strong.
I'm into it,
I'm all in.
I'm all in. That's the type of gritty inside linebacker play that LSU needs if they're going to run a 4-3 or a 4-2-5.
So I love what they did in the first 19. I thought that, having 1 offensive lineman, that's a miss. But you still have the opportunity to get this done. And here's what Orgeron said last night on the radio show. Here's what he said of what he expects and what's going on with that position group.
I have 5 scholarships left. We have a couple of guys that are silently committed that have taken up some spots. I can't talk about tonight. You're going to be excited about them. They're great players, but I'm not going to say anything until February, so I got a couple of spots left. I'll have to say one for a graduate transfer. We've got a target on a graduate transfer. He's an offensive lineman. I think we're going to get him. We got some of the top young offensive linemen in the country that are not committed. I think that we're going to sign them. So we're targeting for offensive linemen and maybe another cornerback and maybe a safety.
There you go. Wow, another safety. Whoa, I mean, the trio of safeties that you brought in yesterday is already as good as any in the entire country. So this is a class that let's take the line out of it. But in every other area, not only have you gotten highly ranked players, but you have also, I think, addressed like your strongest players actually come at positions of need, right? And Mason Smith's kind of interesting to me to highlight here because all of a sudden now with Guillory, and we haven't seen a lot of Guillory this year, right? But with Guillory getting a year older, Jaquelin Roy continuing to develop. Again, like I said, the Florida game, I want to see what he does this week because that felt like a huge confidence breakout game. Now you add Mason Smith to that group. All of a sudden, you're getting to that elite D line that it's going to take to win championships. And when you look at the safety position where you felt like you were a bit light or maybe a bit weak this year, adding Sage Ryan and is it Dominic Davis? Not Dominic Davis. Who's the cat from Pennsylvania? And then they also got another safety in-state here. Like you are directly addressing positions of need with very good talent. And look, Coach O and any LSU head coach should always put the gates up around Louisiana, right? That is priority number one. And when you look after the early signing day, Jordy, you now have so here are the top 6 players.
Derek Davis,
excuse me, not Dominic. Shout out Dominic Davis, though. Yeah. Used to love watching you play.
The best.
But, okay, here are the top 6 players in the state of Louisiana. Mason Smith, Sage Ryan, Brian Thomas Jr., Chris Hilton, Savion Jones, and Malik Neighbors. You got 5 of the top 6 already in the boat. And you're going
Did
to
Jones
try to clone
sign
on
yesterday? Savion
did not sign. Okay. But you still have him committed to you. You're going to have to finish that battle out. But either way, they're getting the top players in the state, and then they're adding nice, like you said, you go into Mississippi, you get the number 1 player out of the state of Mississippi. And now we see the new dynamics of the split signing period come into play, where in the past, you have to go all in on this one day. And if everything doesn't come together, you're kind of left scrambling. This split signing period, I know it's a lot of work for coaches in season, but it has to feel pretty good right now, right? Where you know concretely.
Well, now you know how to navigate it.
Yes, you know concretely where you stand, where the holes left to plug are, and all the resources that you would have committed to recruiting, 30 guys, 40 guys, all those resources can now be poured into 4 or 5.
Couple of coaches to highlight here. Kevin Falk. How about Falk in his first real recruiting cycle? He goes out and bags the number 5 and number 7 running back in the country. Corey Kiner, Mr. Ohio in football,
who
came
Joe
out of Cincinnati.
Burrow, also Mr. Ohio in football, so love that lineage.
Kiner was a commit over the last couple of months. He never really wavered. He stopped by here and off the bench, said he was 100%. Yesterday the letter came in. No drama there. As far as Armani Goodwin is out of Trustville, Alabama, and a longtime Auburn commit. I guess the news of Gus Malzahn earlier this week losing his job really affected the status of where Goodwin stood with Auburn.
And Auburn had a bad day yesterday. I mean, they were bad. Yeah, they were bad. Well, they were bad going. That's I think why Malzahn got fired maybe more than anything. So they were bad going into yesterday, and then it just got worse. So the if you're an Auburn fan, the road to actually challenging Alabama right now feels very long.
And Goodwin is a top 10 running back in the country, number 1 running back in the state of Alabama. And to go in there and get him late in the process, shout out to Kevin Falk. And then Corey Raymond doing what he does every single cycle, it feels like. I mean, he's the recruiting coordinator, but he goes in and gets a kid by the name of Demarius McGee, an athlete and a cornerback out of Pensacola, after LSU loses Nathaniel Wiggins, their lone cornerback commit in the class to Clemson late in the process. That happened earlier this week. And Demarius McGee was I believe a Tennessee commit at one time, decommitted, and LSU had a chance to get in there, and they beat everybody at the table. I mean, when you look at the players at the table, it was Georgia, it was Alabama, it was Tennessee, it was Florida State right there, as he being a player on the panhandle, and Corey Raymond and LSU dip in and bring him into the class. So I think that was a big win yesterday as well.
It's kind of funny. These 17-year-olds remaining a bit more level-headed about the state of the LSU program than a lot of us who love it so much and talk about it all the time, right? Not nearly as kind of Chicken Little freaked out, the world is over, as many of us have felt. And I'm not saying like we're wrong or anything. I think there's ample reason, like they're good, whatever. The point is, yesterday is a bright beacon of hope in a season of bad. And now, man, if you want to finish this thing with a little momentum, go beat Ole Miss and go 5-5, right? And then with the Florida win, with the Ole Miss win, avoid a losing season since 99, got this class. That's a lot of juice. Like the Ole Miss win is kind of lagniappe at this point. I don't think it really matters either way, to be quite honest. It would be huge for Ole Miss just in their fan base so they could get that win. Yeah, go beat Ole Miss and you'll be feeling pretty good. Here's why I say it's a beacon of hope and why yesterday matters so much. This is a tweet from Matt Schick. I got to be careful with that last name. At ESPN Schick. There are only 6 programs that have won a playoff game in the college football playoff era. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU, Clemson, Oregon. Here are the updated 2021 class rankings after yesterday. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU, Clemson, Oregon. Recruiting matters. I mean, that's how you win championships. And that's what LSU did yesterday.
And this piece of news that came out of Indianapolis yesterday may have been overlooked, but the NCAA Division I Council voted yesterday to grant a blanket waiver allowing all Division I transfers to play immediately this year. The waiver covers all D1 sports. The most immediate impact will be felt, of course, in men's basketball, which cranks up really today. That's what you saw with Josh LeBlanc. Megan Durham, who's an NCAA spokesman, said on Twitter on Wednesday that the D1 Council will consider permanent transfer rule changes at its January meeting. It is expected that the council will vote on a one-time transfer waiver that would allow all student athletes to transfer once without sitting out for a year before playing. I don't know how you recruit that. I don't know how you make it public that LSU has room on their roster for big-time players out there, but I saw Jesse McCormick inside the Bayou Ford chat app saying that they would be getting in touch with Jordan Birch. Players like that have coaching changes, that are going through those types of roster turnovers. Come on down, man. Absolutely. I mean, Coach, it's a raid. It is a raid on rosters. I don't know how you do it legally.
This is some Wild West type of stuff
about
here.
To be.
And look,
it's about to be the 80s again.
Let's be painfully clear. This is going to bite you sometimes. Some of this is going to hurt at times when some of your guys leave. You're going to take some others that are going to hurt some others as well. Hey, coaches, just in case you thought your job was done when they actually sign and then come and join the roster, never stop recruiting, man. Nobody now. You have to recruit the high school kids. You got to recruit the college kids. You got to recruit everyone. I mean, look, I in all honesty, whatever. I'm always down for anything that gives the players more power in the current setup since they're not paid. So that's all well and good. But, man, I don't know how you manage rosters now, recruit that, but it's going to be the Wild West. The potential for that is massive.
Food questions, #Munchies. We answer them next.